Listen, you all were here first. We get that. But we wanted your home. So we're going to take it. Okay? And we don't want you guys to be upset. If you're upset, we'll kill you. So... Thanksgiving. Turkey, mac and cheese, stuffing, greens, deviled eggs, cornbread, your long-winded aunt saying a 45-minute prayer holding everybody up from eating.
We come to you, O God, hoping that this food will massage our spirits and bring us closer to you, O God. We love you and praise you.
Amen. 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 Time to eat. It's a time for family, for laughter, for joy. A time to give thanks for good friends, love, health, prosperity, a new president. I'm just spitballing. Our schools taught us that the Mayflower sailed from England carrying pilgrims who sought religious freedom in the New World. We were told that they landed near a rock, befriended Native Americans, invited them to a bomb-ass meal, and they all lived happily ever after. We've celebrated that feast ever since. Now, America has a tendency to sugarcoat some terrible shit. So allow me to give you a more fully realized picture of Thanksgiving. Here's just a few facts to start. George Washington made the first Thanksgiving proclamation in 1789, calling on Americans to give thanks for their newfound independence and the ratification of the Constitution through prayer and fasting. John Adams and James Madison followed suit during their presidencies. However, Thomas Jefferson was like, nah. He felt that declaring such a holiday was a violation of the separation of church and state. In 1817, New York was the first of many states to officially celebrate an annual Thanksgiving holiday, but each state celebrated on different days. Southern states were unfamiliar with the tradition at this time, which is wild considering the fact that the South takes the cake when it comes to Thanksgiving meals. Fight me. In 1827, writer Sarah Josepha Hale of Mary Had a Little Lamb fame campaigned to make Thanksgiving a national holiday. She worked tirelessly for 36 years, writing editorials, sending letters to governors, senators, presidents, you name it. Finally, President Lincoln was like, damn, you love Thanksgiving, huh? And she was like, I love me some turkey. He officially made Thanksgiving a national holiday in 1863 at the height of the Civil War. Lincoln designated that it would fall on the last Thursday in November, and it remained that way until 1939, when FDR moved it up a week to try and bolster retail sales during the Great Depression. That didn't go over too well. Thanksgiving, the third Thursday in November? What's next, Christmas in June? And in 1941, he signed a bill making Thanksgiving the fourth Thursday in November. So, before we dive into this origin story, you need to get it out of your head that this particular feast was the first of its kind. There's evidence of Thanksgiving-like celebrations in America dating back to the 1500s. Furthermore, Native Americans had a long tradition of celebratory feasts to give thanks for successful harvests. So this shit wasn't new just because some white people in big hats showed up and decided to hold hands and eat with brown folks. Glad we cleared that up. Let's get into it. In September 1620, the Mayflower set sail from England with 102 passengers on board. They were a mixture of Puritans and people enticed by the idea of land ownership in the New World. Now, the Puritans didn't come to the New World simply for religious freedom. They actually had that when they migrated to Holland in the early 17th century. However, they found that making a living there was difficult. When they arrived in America, they hoped to live an easier, more fruitful life. The Puritans said, run me my check, please. When they reached America, shit was tough, though. During their first winter, most of the colonists stayed on the Mayflower and suffered from exposure and disease. Only half of the passengers who sailed over lived to see springtime. In March 1621, the remaining settlers moved off the ship and onto shore to set up shop, where they were visited by an English-speaking Native American named SQUANTO of the Patuxet tribe. A little BG on SQUANTO. In 1614, he was kidnapped by the English and sold into slavery. Till as old as time. He eventually found himself in England for a time before making it back home, only to find his people decimated by disease brought over by the English on an earlier passage to the New World. He literally was the only one left. Can you even? No, you can't. Nevertheless, he taught the colonists how to survive. He also helped them build an alliance with the Wampanoag, a local Native American tribe. After the Pilgrims had their first successful harvest, Plymouth Colony Governor William Bradford organized a celebratory feast and may or may not have invited their Wampanoag allies, including the Wampanoag leader, Massasoit.
Hi, future Rahne here. His name was Massasoit, not Massasoit. I'm dumb. So just remember that going forward. My bad.
You heard that right. There's no evidence that they were invited, but they were there nonetheless, and everyone celebrated for 3 days straight. It was lit. That's where the history books would like the story of Thanksgiving to end, but I hate to tell you this, only a generation later, that goodwill dropped off the face of the earth. The English colonizers and the Wampanoag found themselves on bad terms by the time Massasoit died in 1661 and his son, Metacom, took over as leader. Thousands of colonists had made their way to the New World, and authorities in Plymouth began to assert control over the Wampanoag. There was an increase in exchanges of native land for English guns, ammunition, liquor. Metacom felt that these sales were a threat to indigenous sovereignty. He was even ordered to sign a treaty in 1671 that included surrendering native guns. The colonists, frightened by Metacom and his strength, labeled him a menace, of course they did, punk-ass bitches, and feared an uprising. Then, in 1675, King Philip's War happened. Philip is the name Metacom took because of the friendly nature of his father's relationship with the Mayflower colonists, which is quite funny considering what I'm about to tell you, and when I say funny, I mean absolutely not funny at all. The war started when 3 of Metacom's men were executed for the murder of a native interpreter working for the settlers who tried to warn the colonists of an attack. The Wampanoag didn't take too kindly to the execution of their men and also were fucking tired of these white people coming in and ruining shit. They had had enough. So they retaliated by making a series of raids throughout New England, killing many colonists and destroying property. Other tribes, like the Narragansetts, joined the Wampanoag in their fight, but they were outnumbered. The New England colonist population at this time was around 65,000, with 16,000 men serving in militias and aided by native allies. All skinfolk ain't kinfolk. While the opposing native population was only 10,000, with the Wampanoag accounting for less than 1,000. By the war's end in 1678, the death toll for the English was roughly 30%, while the New England Native American population was cut in half. English colonizers took over their home, where they'd lived for hundreds of years, and cut their population in half. And that's not including all the other Native Americans who died because the settlers came over with their unwashed asses and spread disease. I'm upset. And finally, just to really double down on this bullshit, Metacom, the son of Massasoit, who sat side by side with the Mayflower Pilgrims at that first Thanksgiving, was killed and his body mutilated. I shit you not, and this is graphic, I apologize. The Plymouth, Massachusetts colonists placed his head on a pike and kept it there for 20 years. Oh, and they sold his wife and child into slavery. Happy Thanksgiving! Class dismissed.